Hey girl, hey, we are coming here today to talk about obedience, which is such a tough topic for many of us, I feel like.
Why is it so difficult? Why is obedience so difficult?
I don't know. I struggle with this big time. I never realized how disobedient I was.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those topics that really everyone struggles with, though.
I know for sure that I want to struggle less. And it's not always just the when I am going to be obedient, the how. Like, I question God a lot. Like, I'm always like, I mean, you for real? Like, you really think this is a good idea?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done that before. I feel like, too, just the lack of obedience that I've had in my life is just from whether it be fear or just not feeling like I'm cut out for it.
Yeah.
Even with Hey Girl Hey, to an extent. If we're going to be completely honest, I feel like that's just something that...
Mine is control. Like, I want to control all aspects. And don't ask Harold if I'm controlling, okay? I'm working on it. I'm working in progress here. I mean, but I do. I try to control all the things in my home, with my kids, with my husband. And I think that's where obedience comes so hard for me, is because I try to control things with God as well. Like, what is he going to touch? What is he going to help me with? Like, how much of it I'm going to give to him? Like, I just want all the things, and I just want to control it all. So.
Well, and I'm not shaking my head because I'm agreeing, like, yeah, you're controlling. I'm actually...
Thank you.
I'm actually, like, yes, like, that's me. Like, I try to control things and fix things, and no, I wasn't saying, like, she's the only controlling one at this table. But, yeah, I think that's probably a huge aspect of my life that I've struggled with for sure.
Same. I hear you. I feel like I'm the same way with even just my daughter. With when you said control, I immediately thought as a mother, and yes, like I have to have that control, or I don't have, like that's definitely an area I struggle with though.
Right.
So.
I mean, I guess it's never about like the outcome of the obedience. Like, if God tells you to do this, you're going to get this amazing award. I think it's all about my posture towards the Lord, like the trust that I have for him. Mm-hmm. Like, I can even tell in a day, like when I made a decision, I've made a decision with a job before where I asked God, I want this specific job, I want to be paid this amount of money, I want to come in during this time, and I worked there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I do not like this. Oh, that's because I told God all these things, and I didn't give him any room to like move. Like, my posture was completely wrong in that place.
Yeah. When we started talking about that we were going to do an episode on obedience, and we said that we were going to sit down and kind of ask the Lord to just show us some things. Mm-hmm. I want to show you guys real quick what I found, because I started looking up to find what the Hebrew word was for obedience in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And it turns out there is no Hebrew word for obedience in the Bible. The word instead used in the Bible in that place, and I don't even know if I'm going to pronounce it right.
Hey, judge free.
Yeah,
judgment free.
You do it, girl.
I'll spell it to you.
Find it in the
I don't know
notes
if I'm
later,
going to pronounce it right, but it's Shema.
Okay.
Shama. And there's no English word that fits the word Shema. But basically, the word Shema means, let me find it, to hear with your heart and take action. And so, like, when I read that, I was like, that is so cool, because God doesn't want robots. He doesn't want us to just, like, that's when we look up obey in the dictionary, it's like to complete a command, mm-hmm. or like I'm gonna do whatever they tell me to do.
Right,
yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's not at all what it's talking about here. It's like when you hear with your heart and take action, God doesn't just want robots. He wants our hearts. That's what he really wants. And so I thought that was so cool. And one verse that I had kind of clung to while I was looking that up was, it's from 1 Samuel 15:22, and it says, "But Samuel replied, 'What is more pleasing to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to his voice? Listen, obedience is better than sacrifice, and submission is better than offering the fat of rams.'" And so that verse just kind of tied into what I just read about.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, it's just tough. And I don't think God thinks that it's not going to be tough. I don't think He expects, oh, I want my children to be obedient and they're just going to rock this, they're just going to do it all the time. And I find confidence in the Bible. I used to look at it when I was younger like a rule book. But now I feel like it's people that I can relate to, where I can see God's grace showing like a lot of grace there. And the verse I think about is Luke chapter 5, verse 5. And kind of when we were talking about this and I was telling Steph, I was like, oh, Luke 5 just spoke to me. She was like, oh, me too. What are we
like, that was my verse.
Got it first.
So she's going to say it first. So, Anyway.
Okay, Luke chapter 5, verse 5. Simon answered, Master, we worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I'll let down the nets. And just a little bit of background, Simon and his partner have been fishing all night. I mean, all day. I mean, what can we compare that to? Being at work for just 12 hours, then coming home and having to do things in the home, having to bathe children after they have had an accident, and, just all the things. You want to eat food. I mean, they got to eat every day. It's just, I've been doing this all day. And you're going to say, well, Peter, let's do it again. And let down your net in a way that, I mean, Jesus was a carpenter. He was not a fisherman. He let down the net on a completely different side of the boat. And Peter didn't want to do it. I mean, like, he compared to me in the times that I do not want to be obedient, or I'm kind of struggling with that, or I'm questioning God with that. But he was just so obedient there. Like,
yeah, it's like volume to me for sure, because I'm just like, if only I were that obedient, and then what blessings would come from it,
Right.
Just the fact that he was like, okay, you told me to let down my net again, and here he did, and they had so many fish, and so it's like, okay, like, there's so many things that God calls in our life for us to do in our life, and I just feel like it's so easy to be like, oh, I don't think that was for me, or maybe just all the things that might kind of push us out of our comfort zone.
Like, I can feel like sometimes we focus so much on what we are being told and not who's doing the telling. Because I feel that's a completely different on how Peter handled that. Like, when I'm in a situation and God is saying, okay, drop this, leave this, stop that, I'm like, but I like that. Like, my job, for instance, my job will be ending in August, and I love what I do so much. And he's telling me, well, baby, I have something completely different from you. I'm like, but no, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I like this job. I like what I do. I like the flexibility. Like, I love all these things. And I'm focusing on the situation and not on Jesus. I'm not focusing on who is telling me, like, I got something else for you. So.
And he always knows so much better than we do. And I don't know why. For me, I don't know if everyone else is this way, but I just feel like sometimes I think I know better, or I'm like, oh, but Lord, I don't think you know who I am. And just like, I really don't think that you've really called me to that. But I just feel like too, just to obey God's word, it just shows how much we love Him. And then I think that's where you said about the heart, and how our heart needs to desire Him. I feel like that's too where
Shema.
If that's even how you say
it. Shema. As I'm looking through these notes, guys, and I hadn't discussed this with you, I hadn't said anything to you previously about this, but when we started kind of being prepared for this day where we're recording our first chapter, I had these notes in here talking about my job, and I say, I'm just going to read this to you because it is completely different. As of today, I've known I'm losing a job that I feel is the perfect fit, and one that really doesn't feel like a job, and I've known for almost 5 months at this time. My position is set to end in another 6 months, so great runway for a new job, right? This is me talking. And I say yes, but for me, I have not heard from God to move yet. I have not noticed something out there perfect for me. So guess what? I'm not looking. I seem a little cuckoo to others, especially my husband, but I am working for my sign. I am waiting for my Simon moment. Mm-hmm. And today, I mean, this is probably a few weeks ago that we did this. Right. I'm not in that place right now. Like, I just feel so much peace and so much excitement about this ending. That's like, so cool. At this place, I was not ready. Like, I wasn't looking for a job. Recruiters would say stuff to me, and I was not responding. I don't see anything. Harold would be like, hey, babe, you thinking about looking or anything? And I'd be like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not. But today, it is completely different. Now, I feel like I've had my Simon moment within the past couple of days where I am excited. I'm ready for him to take me on that next path, and it is just so freeing. It is just, I'm ready to be obedient, okay? I'm ready.
That's so cool. So it's like the blessing that came after the obedience.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love it. That is so cool. It's like once he has your heart, then he can work on it from there. Mm-hmm. And I think that even for me, after I have found what I'd found about just what biblical obedience really is and how it's inviting God into every area of your life as a relationship with him. Yeah. And not just fulfilling his commandments. It changed everything for me, because then I started looking at obedience in every area of my life as that, as just my heart listening and responding. Yeah. Like, what is my heart going to listen and respond to with that? Yeah. So I think an example of obedience in my life right now would be like leading a life group. Mm-hmm. Something that is scary. You're stepping into the unknown. Right. But really what that looks like is me just stepping up and saying, okay, God, I believe that you called me to this. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm not equipped. I don't feel like I have the time or just like the energy to lead a life group. And me, I do not want to do it. But that's when like my surrender steps in, and I'm like, okay, God, you take over. Like, I'm just going to step up and say, okay, I'm willing, and you take over from here, and I'll lead a life group. I'm just going to step up and be willing. And so I feel like that is my heart stepping up and and like responding to the obedience. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it's almost like, oh, go ahead.
How do you feel about it? Like, you kind of went into leading a life group kind of like, I'm going to do it because I'm feeling led to do it. But do you feel different after you've stepped out in that obedience?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, and that's why like blessing really does come after obedience every time, because now I love it. Yeah. Like the real change that we lead. Like, I see so many stories of life change in that group that I can't step away from it. Like, I love it. I love seeing God move in that group.
Yeah. Well, you can just see it just in their faces. You know,
I mean, it's just the way they carry themselves.
Even in us, like what leading the life group through them, changes us as well. So.
I wish in those moments that I kind of fight with God and say, I don't know that I want to do that. I wish I could shake myself and say, like, listen, like, his plan is going to work out so much better if you just listen.
I call that spiritual amnesia, where we sometimes just forget, this is Jesus you're talking about. This is God who is telling you to do that. He has, like you said, such a better plan for you than you have for yourself.
So. Every time. It's like every time he does.
Sweet. So we just challenge you guys to just be asking and praying with God, just how can I be obedient? What is it that I'm holding on to that I need to surrender?
Yeah, I mean, do you need to be obedient with your finances, with your marriage, with your kids, your job, or any area really?
Yeah. Yeah. And then also, if you guys have any prayer requests, please send them to us. We would love to be praying with you and for you.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.